All right. No props, no booze, no drinking whatsoever. Tonight is my favorite bad date story to tell. Your mileage may vary, but this one takes place before I actually learned how to drive. This is the story of the flat earther, and it starts, unsurprisingly, on a dating app. It was Bumble, and the odds are absolutely astronomical for how this worked out because Bumble works off a geographic range. Like I mentioned in a previous story, you set it to a certain width geographically, and it will connect you to anybody in that circle. Mine was significantly smaller than any other radius, and it should not have included anybody in the city of Nashville. But somehow, one night, I matched with somebody traveling back from Chicago to Nashville. This person was in Paducah, and we managed to click really well, really quickly, and set up a date. Now, what's interesting about this person is she was roughly my age, similar education level, all that stuff, as usual. And I didn't really mention that I didn't know how to drive. I just said I would figure out a way to get down to Nashville to go on this date one way or another. So what I did was I booked a ticket on Greyhound. And Greyhound is not the most glamorous way to travel, but it's cheap. So I managed to find my way to the library in the city where this person lived. And she arranged to pick me up at the library. I had this whole bullshit story planned out about how I had car trouble and got down there the best way I could. I figured it might score me some points to not break the date, stuff like that. But she picked me up after work. We went back to her place to just get ready for the date. And right away, she launched into this problem she was having with a friend of hers who had criticized her parenting skills and accused her of being an alcoholic. And she's like, well, she smokes way too much weed. So what do you think of that? And I'm like, trying to give the most non-committal diplomatic answers I can come up with because I'm really not trying to get into a fight before the date even officially starts. And I just kind of sympathetically listened, gave her side as much consideration as I could. And she had at least one glass of wine before we got in the car and headed out to Nashville proper. Ate at this place called Melrose. She said, it's a really cool place. You're going to love it. Let's go check it out. And I said, I'm fine with whatever. I'm starving. I've been on a Greyhound bus all day long, sitting in a library. Let's make it work. We get to this place called Melrose, and she sits down and wants to argue a little bit more about whatever her friend said that caused her such umbrage. And I just kind of backed off and let her vent as she consumed drink after drink after drink. I'm thinking, how am I going to get back home if she's the driver and she's putting away Boilermakers? Doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. So, in the course of the conversation, she looks at me across the table and says, I don't know how open-minded you are, but I'm a flat earther. I looked back at her and I said, you know what? I believe that the Bears are going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, so I guess we're both raving lunatics by someone or another's metric. What's been fun about work for you? I have lots of papers to grade and student loans out the ass. And somehow deftly changed the subject enough where I didn't have to remark, on anything regarding a flat earth or the theories therein. But she was ready to quote chapter and verse all the stuff that she had found on the internet about it. And the evening went downhill from there. She had a problem with me ordering a buffalo chicken wrap because she apparently really cared about chickens, but she liked cows even more. So it's lucky that I didn't order a cheeseburger, but she got a veggie burger, and it was just like awkward, uncomfortable. And I was drinking as fast as I could to make sure that I could forget as much of that date as I could. And then we went back to her place. And I know that when somebody says, and then we went back to her place, it usually means something significant happens. But I did not intend for anything significant to happen because I had already made my decision, and it was definitely not going to be one of those kinds of dates. So we went back to her place, and she says to me, Friends is my favorite TV show. You want to sit on my bed and watch Friends for a while? I was like, yeah, I don't want to get kicked out in the middle of Nashville with no way of getting to the Greyhound station or home for the next 24 hours. So I just kind of opted to sit on her bed and watch Friends till she fell asleep, at which point I adjourned to the living room and slept on the couch under a leather jacket. And in the morning, when we got up, she gave me a ride to the Greyhound station, which I was grateful for. It was very considerate of her because it was like a 40-mile walk from where we were located. And I learned some more terrifying things about her on the way to the Greyhound station. Got there at about 10 in the morning, and my bus didn't leave for like 9 hours, but I was fine with that. You know, you can sit in a Greyhound station and enjoy yourself, believe it or not. Some guy tried to sell me some weed, which I really didn't need. I was eating a Cliff Bar and having some milk and regretting all my life choices up to that point. But I went back in the Greyhound station, texted her a couple times, heard nothing, unsurprisingly. Got on the Greyhound, and I will tell you this much about that date. It was life-changing. There are certain women who come into your life who just rock your world in such a profound way that you make a major change to your entire outlook. And it was on that bus, as soon as I boarded, after sitting in that terminal for 9 hours, that I decided I was going to buy a car and learn how to drive. So the first thing I did when I got off that bus was I called the Toyota dealership in Murray and said, here's my budget. Find something that you can stick me in. I'm going to learn how to drive in it. And the rest is really history. I had to take the day off of class to close on purchasing that car. And it turned out to be a Toyota Corolla, the red one that is still in my driveway. And this is actually my third year of owning that car. I am pretty proud of that little vehicle. I learned how to drive in it in roughly 2 months of practice, applying a lot of what I learned playing Need for Speed Most Wanted. So I may not drive responsibly, but I drive enough. Anyway, let's forget about how I drive and get back to how bad this date went. So she ghosted me, which I was fine with. I got on with my life, continued to use Bumble, and ran across her profile several more times. And each time I ran across it, she was a different name and a younger age. So I'm sure there were some missteps. I mean, technically, I entered into that relationship on full dishonesty. She thought I knew how to drive, and I did not tell her the truth. So I'll take responsibility for that. But I still feel like I dodged a bullet. So next time, I will try and offer stories with more dynamics. But I got to say, this was one of the stranger experiences based on the amount of travel that went into pulling this date off. However, I got a brand new Corolla out of the deal, so I can't complain too much. Stay safe, folks. Have a good night.